Alright, so I wanted to talk about the differences in what we did in a lesson with the player that we had come in here yesterday. I'm going to draw some lines and show you some distinct differences. So right off the bat, you can see the player is in more left side bend. This guy's a lefty, so you can see how the center of the sternum is on the same line, and the center of his pelvis is actually back there. This one, you can see the center of that sternum is here, and the center of the pelvis is actually in front of the center of his sternum, which is more of what you want to see at a dress. And then as this player goes to the top, you see a lot more turning on the backswing with the pelvis, and then you can see the amount of depth at the top of the golf swing and length to the golf swing that created. So if we move those lines, you can see the trail shoulder right there. Well, this one, you can't see any of that trail shoulder. You can see the trail shoulder starting to get back here, which shows that he's got more rotation. So like back to that the lefty that we were looking at earlier, he was set up more like this way with his pelvis. His right hip was quite a bit higher than his left, and then he didn't have enough side bend, so he kind of was set up more this way. So what we did with him is we had him set up more. I want you to feel like your right hip is higher than your left hip, and then your left shoulder gets a little higher than your right shoulder. So he felt like he was setting up like this at first, and he looked up at it, and it just looked normal. But so on the backswing, if this hip is started already higher, like basically these hips should be, the left hip ought to be getting lower on the backswing, the right hip ought to be getting higher on the backswing. But if I've started with it too high already, I kind of run out of room to continue to tilt. And unless you're a kid, you would like get into a spot that was really uncomfortable. But I'd say that the sooner the trail hip gets high on the backswing, the more that basically is going to limit your amount to rotate. Because like right here, I don't have a lot of hip turn. And like for me to turn my hips and keep my hip that high, I would have to actually drop my hip down and level out my pelvis. So right now my pelvis is tilted like this. And if I wanted to turn some more from there, I would have to drop this hip down, then my pelvis would have to level out. So Jackson's big feel on his backswing for hip turn, this felt like hip turn to him as he was straightening his trail leg so much, but really what he had to feel was that his pockets, his front pockets were staying very level as he turned back. And once again, that's just because he was getting this trail side pocket way too high. So he had to be more that way. And then because that trail hip wasn't so high, that freed him up to be able to make a bigger turn with his pelvis. You can see that a lot bigger gap in between these legs right here. There's no gap in between these legs over here. And that's basically showing us that, man, this guy turned his hips way more in the backswing on the right than he did on the left. And coincidentally, he picked up about 15 yards of distance in one golf swing by turning his hips more in his backswing.